Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. In this reading, I'm going to read on an update with the Ukrainian offensive against Russia. In my video I just recorded regarding Putin and Prigozhin, I had the feeling that the fate of these two men really depends on the Ukrainian offensive. And I think Prigozhin's going to come out on top in this case against Putin, because I think the offensive is going to be successful. When I read about the offensive end of last May, beginning of June, I saw it being wildly successful, and I thought that Putin might even be out of power sometime in the June timeframe. And while he is still in power, I'm wondering if the rebellion that Prigozhin led with the Wagner Group against Russia, if that really is the end of Putin's power. That just really kneecapped Putin. It showed the world just how weak he currently is. No matter how much strength he tries to portray, it showed that he isn't. And you've got to imagine the sharks are circling this guy, are circling Putin. So I want to read on the Ukrainian offensive and how it is going. It's been going slower than what people have expected, especially when you given the equipment that's been supplied to them. But the analysis that I've gotten from the war and their actions is that they are being very slow and very deliberate. They go in, they get the high ground, they start maneuvering around an objective, they overwhelm the Russians retreat because they're caught in a salient or a pocket, and then the Ukrainians seal off that area and then move down to the lowlands to the community that the Russians then abandon because they don't have the high ground. Lather, rinse, repeat. It's slow going, but Ukraine is minimizing casualties. They tried rushing in on, there was one video when they brought a couple of, was it Challenger tanks or the German tanks? And some got shot up pretty quickly. So I think they learned their lesson that they're just not going to steamroll Russia right now. They're trying to find a weak point, and when they get that weak point, they'll get the breakthrough. But right now, they're trying to not get their fighters killed. Show of strength. Their strength. They're showing tactical strength, intelligence, and stepwise. I would not be surprised if the Knight of Wands shows up. Stepwise, they are taking what they need to take. They take the highlands, and then they can take the towns without firing a shot. Crossed with the disappointment, I think leadership in Ukraine, the soldiers want a faster offensive. I think the West would like to see a faster offensive. But, honestly, let's be realistic here. Ukraine is trying not to sacrifice their men like Russia has sacrificed them, throwing them into the meat grinder. And just because they have Western equipment doesn't equal the automatic win button, Western equipment appears to be technologically superior to the Russian equipment, but that doesn't mean it can't be destroyed. So they are, I think, again, Ukraine is moving along at a reasonable clip. There might be disappointment that it's not faster, but hey, we're not in charge. Zelensky is, and he's making the calls. In the past, it's the burden, the hard work. It must be very, a lot of planning had to go in, a lot of training. And in the meantime, missiles are coming in, blowing up civilian buildings and targets. And there's got to be a lot of pressure on Ukraine to do something about it. But it makes no sense to start an offensive when you're not ready. Mind you, the strength card, Ukraine still has not committed their strategic reserves. The strategic reserves are going to be the ones with the Abrams tanks and the British Challenger tanks, so on and so forth, as well as fighter craft to take not only have air superiority, but eventually air supremacy. I think, though, what that's going to have to wait for is when you get that breakthrough. So right now, the current situation is it's still in that planning stages of, okay, where they're scouting the lines. They're scouting the front lines, trying to find points of weakness that if they can isolate those points of weakness, they can bust through that and get the breakthrough that they need. The The breakthrough is what's going to allow the commitment of U.S. And allied military arms to be committed to the front lines, and then they will seal off Russian troops in large pockets and allow basically these tanks and these units with the Western equipment to go through the center of it or go through the middle of that and then pierce deeply into Russian territory. That will get Russians basically retreating quickly, trying to find a way to regroup and put up a line of resistance. Right now, things are slow because there's been trenches and defensive fortifications put in. So you got to find the weakness. If you're a football fan at all, this is, again, running the fullback right up the middle and trying to establish the running game. But picture, if you will, your guards and your tackles seal off the linebackers and the linemen, and there's a gaping hole. The minute that gaping hole is in there, the safety's the only one who's going to save the day. So there's your football analogy. If you're not following football, sorry. Patience. Ukraine is showing a lot of patience. They're not going to sacrifice their men willy-nilly for this offensive. They are going to find the spot. They're going to be patient. And that's fine. I realize everybody wants it to be fast. It's not going to be fast. The morale is still good with the Ukrainians, and that's what we want. We want Ukrainian morale to be good. They know what they're doing is valuable, and we're still in the early stages of this offensive. Small gains, not huge gains are being made, but small gains are being made. But the gains they're getting are valuable because they're gaining settlements back, and they're making progress, and they're not losing a lot of equipment. They're not losing a lot of personnel. Russia is actually losing quite a bit of equipment, and they're on the defensive. Outcome, the star. They're going to get their breakthrough. They are absolutely going to get it. And when they do, it's game over. This patience will be rewarded with that breakthrough that they need, and they will get it. And when they get that breakthrough, that's it. That's the end of the war. Well, I mean, it doesn't just end like that, but effectively, from a strategic point of view, Russia's done. If Russia cannot hold back this offensive and Ukraine busts through, it's game over. All Russia can do now is hope that they can get into this long, slogging battle of no man's land where nobody's really making any progress. Think trench warfare, World War I type of thing. But that's not going to happen. Ukraine is going to get their breakthrough, and that's going to basically bring Russia to the table suing for peace. And expect that Russia is going to have to give up a lot. Okay, now, trying to connect these two videos. When Ukraine, Spirit, if you'll help me with this one. When Ukraine has its breakthrough, what happens between Putin and Prigozhin? What happens to the relationship between Putin and Prigozhin? Or what happens to Putin, maybe is the better way to say it. What happens to Putin when the breakthrough happens? And that star card happens, and the Four of Wands, if I'm understanding that to be the breakthrough, what happens to Putin? Let's see. What happens to Vladimir? There's that weariness looking over his shoulder. No, here come the assassins, like he'll be even more paranoid because he doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know who to trust. And it's an ending for him. It's too much. It's too much for him to bear. His health is already weak, and there's talks about him being paranoid, as well he should be, because people are gunning for him. It's just going to be too much to bear. 9 and 10 of Wands. This is horrible for him. This is absolutely horrible for him. In the past, he's been exposed. Prigozhin did that. He pulled the thing off to say why they invaded in there. Truth is out. Now, basically, if Russia's suing for peace, the truth about this war thing and how well Russia is doing is over. Young people will be angry. People will be angry about being lied to, which it might be a kind of a new thing for Russians. That I don't mean it that way. I mean, they've gotten so used to just listening to Putin and not questioning it, that the people that have done that will be angry. Anybody who's had a young person sent to the meat grinder is going to be pissed. So this is what leads to the uprising. Because all of a sudden they realize they've been lied to, and Putin sent hundreds of thousands. He sent 100,000 young men to their deaths. Millions of people to the battlefield, but I forget what the actual number is, but it's well over 100,000 casualties. It might even be 100,000 deaths. And there's the death card. It's going to be the end of Putin's regime. Too many people died unnecessarily for a bunch of lies. King of Swords. Okay, so in my last reading with Prigozhin versus Putin, this card came up in the final part. It was center as the signifier. So this is Prigozhin. The King of Swords is right. Prigozhin was the one who was telling you what the truth was. And people now understand that Prigozhin was right. And he's going to have that popular support. And then we get the working underneath. I think this, while the peace treaty negotiations are going on, the negotiations for Putin's future are going on. And there's the victory card. Yeah. Okay. So these negotiations lead to basically the Ukrainian victory. And it's going to be, this is going to be the end of Putin. This absolutely will be the end of Putin. He's not out right away, it doesn't look like, but he will be out soon enough. So I'm going to throw one more on this. Where does Putin go? Okay, so now we've put those cards into different spots of the deck. I've been asking myself this question for a while. It's like, where is he going to go? Because he can't go to any European country, right? You're not safe here. Looked it up. This article from December of 2022 says Argentina and Venezuela are options for Putin. Another one from Politico in November of 2022 listed China and Syria, Iran, North Korea, UAE, Saudi Arabia, maybe Turkey. Does Putin escape? I'll just ask that. Does Putin escape? Does he escape to another country, or does he face his demise? Will Swan Lake start playing in Russia? Does Putin escape, or is it Swan Lake? Well, yeah, thank you. Does he escape or Swan Lake? We're not going to get an answer. Okay, so there's the this could be escaping to another country. This could be going to heaven or the afterlife, as it were. Oh, look at you! Look at you. I think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he escapes, he can't escape his fate. He's chained himself to this fate. Regardless of what happens, if he goes to another country as the King of Pentacles, that country will take him in out of pity, but don't think for a second that country won't give him to a Western power like the United States in negotiation for something. So even if he escapes to another country, he's hosed. They'll sell him out in a second. If he dies, here's your afterlife. He'll be judged. I think he will escape. I think he will make it to another country. But I don't... He won't be long for this world. Basically, even if he escapes, he's not long for this world. It's kind of like a last victory of his. But he's chained himself to his fate. I think basically, right now, it's not clear if he's going to successfully escape or not. But even if he does, I don't think it's going to matter. Because, he might live 6 months, he might live a year, 2 years at the most. And he'll be on the run. He won't have access to his money. And he'll be a liability for the country that has him. Because there will be worldwide pressure for those countries to turn him over. And there might be sanctions that come the way of those countries. So if somebody takes him in, it's because they really owe everything that they have to Putin, and they're returning a favor. Again, like Lukashenko in Belarus owes his position due to Putin basically installing him in power. But Lukashenko is weak also. As Putin goes, Lukashenko goes. And so Putin going to Belarus doesn't serve Putin at all, because Belarus will fall. That government will fall and Putin will no longer be protected. Putin's screwed. Plain and simple. All right. So there's my reading on all that. Thank you very much for spending your last 16 minutes of your life with me. I appreciate it. I hope you found this reading insightful and informative. Looking forward to continued success of the Ukrainian offensive and the eventual end of hostilities between Ukraine and Russia. And maybe at the end of all of this, maybe we get a government in Russia that represents the people of Russia, and the world becomes a little bit more of a peaceful place. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.